Welcome to another webinar here with Solve.cloud. The purpose of these webinars, just as a quick reminder, is to enable anybody that wants to come to gain confidence and foundational knowledge so they can automate their business effectively. The whole goal of this is that people will leave better able to automate their business. The reality is if you haven't adopted AI yet, you're already behind. And competitors are automating more and more parts of their business, getting more and more efficient, getting faster, and saving millions of dollars. So our goal is to help as many people and businesses to do exactly that. Kind of the format here, we'll talk about current events since last time, what's happened in the world of AI. Sometimes that can be a long list. We're going to kind of give you the Cliff Notes version just because there's so much happening all the time and new things happening in the world of AI. And the whole industry is kind of progressing at a breakneck pace here. Then we'll talk about a tool spotlight. We'll do a little tool spotlight, add another tool to your toolbox of things you can use to automate your business. Often these are AI tools that have been especially useful. And then we'll talk about a foundational principle, talk about like the sort of framework and overview for how to automate your business and dive into a specific part of that. Really quick introduction. Let me share my screen here. All right. So Solved has been around for 6 years. And for that time, we've been helping companies automate their businesses, guiding them through the change management process. Primarily, up until recently, that was all on the Salesforce platform. But with the kind of advent of AI, LLMs, more and more AI adoption, it's opened up so many ways, new ways to automate business that we've expanded to cover both AI and Salesforce and to help companies implement AI on and off the Salesforce platform. So I'm Evan. I've been with Solve for 4 years. I'm a consulting manager here. I'm also on our agent build team. So currently working with a couple other coworkers to automate as much as we can within Solve. So this week we built a really cool agent to summarize our calls with our clients and format it exactly how we want it formatted so that our consultants can get right off of a call. A summary of the call lands in their Slack channel and it's ready to copy and paste, make a few tweaks, and then send off to everybody who was on the call to say, here's what happened, here's how the action items and who's responsible for them. So it's very exciting. It's a fun build and looking forward to building more as we go forward. So moving to AI news here over the last couple of weeks, lots has happened. We're actually moving into an exciting time. It's kind of new model season again. The last time this happened was with kind of in December. Both Google and OpenAI were dropping a lot of new models, new stuff. Gemini 2 came out and OpenAI's O3 was announced, which is represented a huge step forward in reasoning models. But anyways, we're kind of headed into another one, and it hasn't even been that long, where XAI just announced Grok 3. They did a live stream yesterday. So it's announced and some of the initial benchmarks have been released. It looks like, so incredibly impressive that they were able to catch up to the state of the art as fast as they have. It looks like their reasoning models are performing around current ChatGPT levels and around like O3 mini. So anyways, it's not a huge step forward in terms of state of the art, but it seems like they are a serious player at this point and have kind of caught up to where the state of the art is now. OpenAI and Anthropic are also rumored to be releasing models in the next coming weeks. So I'm anticipating there's a good chance by the next time we do a webinar, we've got some new state-of-the-art models and new benchmarks and be able to talk about it. So both of these companies right on the bleeding edge. It sounds like it'll be ChatGPT 4.5 or GPT 4.5, and Anthropic probably will call the next model Claude as well, but it'll be a reasoning model with a kind of slider to adjust how long you want it to think about the answers So depending on what your question is, you can kind of extend that out and have it think a little bit longer and get a smarter response back, where not every question is going to need that. OpenAI also kind of laid out the roadmap. They're going that direction too. Seems like theirs will be automatic though, where based on your question, it'll decide like how long to think and which tools to use. So that they probably will call GPT-5. So looks like we're a couple months away from that, but a couple weeks away from GPT 4.5, which should be a big step forward in intelligence. So exciting times. And then another thing to know is OpenAI's Deep Research is a research agent that is honestly a huge step forward in useful AI agents that are kind of ready out of the box. Currently only available on ChatGPT Pro subscription, which is $200 a month. But early reviews of that and benchmarks, it's looking like it's really good. You can go basically for 5 to 30 minutes, go research a topic and come back to you with like a formatted, prepared report that you can download as a PDF. It's equivalent to if asking ChatGPT something is equivalent to Googling, then Deep Research is equivalent to like an entire Google rabbit hole, like really going into depth and searching many sites on the web. So very exciting. All right, this week's tool spotlight here. I need to switch which window I'm sharing. So speaking of ChatGPT's Deep Research, that was very exciting. It was like a week later that Perplexity announced that they have a version of Deep Research as well, and it performs almost as good. Not quite, but kind of lags just behind OpenAI's version. The difference is Perplexity's version is free, so you don't need to pay $200 a month. Free users get 5 free Deep Research questions per day, which is honestly like, that's a lot. I don't know if I've had to use it 5 times in a day most of the time. I am on the Pro plan, which means I get 500 of these questions a day, which I'll never use. So, effectively infinite, but I can think of like one time where I've asked it 5 things in a single day. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. Let's really quick just kind of do a demo of what does this look like. Let's ask it a question. Speaking of business automation, please give me a high level overview of the best practices to keep in mind when implementing, let's say, when creating a marketing automation strategy. Okay, so this takes some time, and I'll kind of go over the other features we can use here while this is thinking. But you'll see it says often takes a few minutes to complete. I'll start by preparing a research plan, and then it starts doing this thing, which is a chain of thought that it's narrating, and then you can see that it's going to search. It'll go through several iterations of this, where it'll type out some chain of thought reasoning, and then start searching and going through various sources, and then it'll have kind of its next point. So it'll do that until it's satisfied that it's got a good report. So in the meantime, a couple of things that are useful that you can keep in mind here are the source modes. So web is automatically toggled, but there's also academic, which will include scholarly and research papers in the search scope. And then social, which will include social media platforms. So you'll get more opinions, more stuff from Reddit. So that's a double-edged sword. You get more kind of opinions, and that can be valuable, especially if you're looking for, if it's market research and you want to kind of get a sense of where's sentiment at for this particular asset for this day. Then including social and getting opinions is valuable, but also their opinions. So your chance of coming back with some inaccurate information or biased information goes up when you toggle social on, and you can toggle all of these on and off. So something good to know. The other thing that it can be really helpful is spaces. So spaces you can have multiple chats, including deep research chats that are related to one space. And so we can call this business automation, and then we can call this a space/folder to hold chats relevant to business automation. And I guess I should have said this at the top. Perplexity, before it had its deep research offering, what this is a web search similar to Google that's powered by AI. So before, you would just type in a question similar to Google and it would pull up, here's your search results, but also this is kind of an AI overview to answer your question. So I'm a power user of Perplexity. I love it. I use it all the time. But now it's like even better, because instead of just one Google search, I can kind of do my whole Google rabbit hole and learn about something with the deep research. So anyways, we're creating a space here. So this can hold chats that are kind of those queries as well as the deep research. I can define which model I want to use here. They do have the DeepSeek R1 hosted in the US, which is pretty cool. Anytime I want to use DeepSeek, which is a Chinese reasoning model that's really good, I'll use it through Perplexity. And then this is kind of the main value add of Spaces. You can define some custom instructions that all of your chats refer to. So if you want to have one part of the prompt that goes into all the chats in that space, you can define it here. So here I could say something like, all chats in this space relate to business automation. And then I'd like to learn about this so I can help my clients automate their businesses. Please prioritize sources with statistics and proven use case example. So we could define some custom instructions like that, and now all of the chats within that space are going to refer to those. And you can get pretty long with these and say, I want all of the reports here to follow this certain structure or whatever you want, and save some time by using Spaces and organize it. So, okay, let's hop back to our query here. So this is done, this deep research report. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing here, but it seems like we've got an introductory paragraph, strategic foundations, defining objectives, operational goals, setting quantifiable targets. And then we get into audience intelligence, behavioral segmentation, profiling, customer profiling, specific platforms to use, customer journey architecture, and how that breaks down. So this is pretty dang good. I am not a marketing automation specialist, so there's other people on my team that would probably be more prepared to fact check this. It's something that you'll want to do, but it's easy to fact check because they're also dropping in all their sources here, and then there'll be if you were to export this and download it as a PDF, it'll have a list of the sources that it used. So very, very useful. This represents, if it were me just Googling things, hours of work to get a report like this put together. So that's kind of the tool highlight this week. Let's hop back to the presentation. All right, so this is a very simple, extremely high-level view of our business automation framework. There's levels to this, and we'll get more and more in depth, and you'll see this framework kind of grow as we continue this webinar series. But in essence, there's three main steps of automating your business and taking steps towards business automation. You have to start out with a clear strategy, understand what it is that you're hoping to accomplish. Part of that includes being informed and understanding what tools are available, what strategies are available, what's being done and what's actually working versus what's just hype. Understanding the regulatory environment for your industry, and also, just how you're going to handle the implementation. And so anyways, you got to have a good strategy and know what your goals are. From there, there's two types of adoption that need to happen at the same time. And when we say adoption, specifically talking about AI and automation tools, there's top down, which is what most companies are used to when talking about IT tools, which means there's an executive or some executive stakeholders, as well as IT, the IT department, or some IT experts who decide on, here's the business objective, here's the tool we're going to implement. And then it's often like a lengthy project to get the tool stood up, get everything configured the way that you want it to be. And these projects can go for months, depending on the size of your company, maybe like a year plus, to implement something like a CRM or a marketing automation platform. So there's a lot of companies that are approaching AI adoption that way. But what they don't realize is this is similar to the internet in its scale and where it applies, its scope, where AI as a tool and as a resource can actually be implemented from the bottom up of organizations very effectively. It's something that users can just get started with and start using and start adding value to the organization. So we're going to talk about that bottom up adoption process today and the things needed and the recommendations to get that right. So anyways, high level, want to form a good strategy and then make sure the foundation is laid for your people to get the best use out of AI. And then there are top-down adoption problems like, strategic initiatives, things that are going to be more of a, say, a custom build or a customized tool that you want to implement. So let's talk about bottom-up adoption today. There's essentially 4 main pillars here that we'll talk about. The goal of bottom-up adoption is to get all of those little efficiency gains, the things that are going to make all levels of your organization more effective. So AI is on a trajectory to replace a lot of knowledge work tasks, but for the foreseeable future, there has to be a person in the loop. Right now, the hallucination rate is just too high and it gets things wrong too often. Right now, people have to stay involved. So it hasn't really fully replaced anybody that is making any level of strategic decisions, including, developers that need to decide what does this need to look like? What is the final product? So even though they can write code a lot faster, it isn't replacing the entire feedback loop of idea to finished product to deployment. There's a lot of people in those loops having to check and make sure things are going right. Your experts are the most prepared to do this because they know what a good job looks like. So the number one thing you can do to start getting immediate value out of AI is to empower your experts to use it and find out all the ways that it can make them more efficient. You're going to find that your people will surface the most valuable ways to go kind of all in on specific AI initiatives. Because by that point, they're going to have prompts and workflows that they've been using that are working. And they're saying, hey, we're hitting roadblocks that would make this even more effective. And so by that point, you already have good data that their process is effective and it could be more effective with some investment instead of starting like a multi-year implementation project for a big tool, like monolithic implementation that you're just hoping has the effect that you want it to. So anyways, empowering your experts, you can overnight start getting efficiency gains. People will get things done faster, more efficiently. And then often those solutions are shareable. And so anyways, diving into kind of like how to get this right, I want to start talking about policy. A lot of people are afraid to use AI because they're worried that they'll get fired or that, it's not approved. There's a lot of companies with sweeping no AI policies, but there's like some good statistics and research starting to come out that over half of employees are using AI and just not telling anyone about it. They're they hide it for various reasons. One, maybe there's this policy against AI, but more often than not, it's not a hard, fast policy. It's more of a kind of an unspoken, I don't know what's going to happen if I start talking about how I'm using AI to get some work done. Is that frowned upon? Am I going to be expected to suddenly be way more efficient? Am I going to automate myself out of a job here? So out of an abundance of caution, people are just using ChatGPT. Often they don't know how to toggle the options to make it safe to use ChatGPT, where they're not going to train on your data. Anyways, point is, it's being used whether or not companies know about it. So the best way to kind of, remove the roadblock of secrecy and people not sharing things and honestly put yourself in a much better situation from a safety and compliance and security standpoint is to be clear in your policies that you want people to use AI, that you expect that they should try and find ways to use AI to make their jobs go better, and that they should be sharing what they're doing and leaning into AI. That's kind of the first step. All right, tools. So I mentioned ChatGPT. I think that's probably the one most people know the most about, but there's a lot of tools. There's Anthropic Anthropic makes the Claude models, Gemini by Google, there's Mistral, there's a lot of AI providers. So one of the best things that you can do to kickstart the process of people using this is to pay for a general purpose AI provider. What that does is most of the providers, actually all the ones I mentioned, will focus on ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. When you are on a paid plan, the terms of service changes so that they say that they're not going to train on the user inputs. So essentially, they're not going to keep your data and then use it to train their other models. It keeps the things that your employees and users are saying to AI private. So that's essential, because you don't want someone to be talking about something that may be proprietary or some information about your customers, and then that going into a data set that later trains AI models that can theoretically spit it back out just because somebody asked for it. So from a safety standpoint, getting a paid plan solves a lot of those problems. The other thing is, now your team can have sort of a team's organization that has, administration, security. You can kind of start to control who can see what on a lot of these plans. And then most important, collaboration. So moving to talk about collaboration here, the chatbot interfaces. You can spend a lot of time creating a prompt that works really well, but it does take some time. There's, they kind of call it prompt engineering to start with, hey, this is a thing I want to get done faster. Maybe there's a report where I plug in some data and then I need the report formatted a certain way. Maybe it needs to be consistent in like the color scheming, or exactly how maybe it's a data visualization or something that you're making and it needs to look exactly a certain way. You can spend a lot of time kind of tweaking that prompt to say, special tricks like, you are an expert at data visualization. This is the data that I'm going to give you. I need maybe like a histogram where it's kind of the bars are separated into buckets of, how many values, and this is the color that I want the bars to be, all these things. And then now you have a prompt though, so it takes some time, but now you have a prompt that can be reused. And so somebody said, okay, this actually works. Well, what if they're not the only person to be generating those types of reports? Most of these plans, these paid plans, have a way to save that prompt in a way that it can be shared and reused. So for ChatGPT, they have both custom GPTs that will do this, and then the newer version of that is projects. So somebody could create a project really similar to a space in Perplexity, like I showed before, where it's got custom instructions that are shared by every thread. And so those projects can be shared. And so somebody could create a project with that special type of visualization, and then somebody could just start a thread and say, hey, just here's the data and do the thing. And then it just does it. Anyways, you save a lot of time and you start sharing the efficiency gains across your whole organization. It's another benefit of going with some of the paid plans. And then, of course, training. You'll want to train your people how to use the chatbots effectively. What can it do? Can it create charts? What does that look like? Helping them understand how to create a good prompt, things to try to get the most value out of it. And then, of course, how to use those collaboration tools to share what they're learning. And then this kind of comes back to policy and some of the things we were talking about there, but you'll want to provide spaces for them to share what they're doing. Talk about if somebody has a workflow that really works well. At Solved, we have an internal message board where people can share, hey, I made, our general purpose providers, Google, Gemini. They'll say, hey, I made a new gem. That's the Gemini equivalent of like a project. And here's where you can find it and use it in your own workspace. And this is what it does. Or, in your meetings, have a chance to like do a spotlight on what somebody's been doing that's working really well. That'll start to create a culture internally where it's normal to use AI, to talk about it, and where there's a social sort of reward for coming up with ways to make the business more efficient. All right, so zooming back out, those are the main pillars and part of bottom-up adoption. Of course, on each of those things, you could go really, really deep and talk about exactly what are our policies going to be, what's the provider we're going to use, what are the pros and cons between providers, how should we structure these trainings, where can we find training materials. All of that is part of Solve's AI Adoption Accelerator. That's designed to start at the beginning with strategy definition and then talk about specific things that you can do to assist with bottom-up adoption and top-down. And you leave that workshop with actionable next steps, in a lot of cases with an AI provider, with training materials that you can use to go train your teams, with somebody assigned to kind of iterate across use cases and find out more and more ways where the AI can be used, with a list of strategic initiatives, with materials to understand what tools are available and what's just hype versus what's actually valuable being used today. So the whole goal of that AI Adoption Accelerator is to be extremely comprehensive so that you can leave and essentially adopt AI that day. Start having your people using it and get the gains from bottom-up adoption, and then start on the strategic initiatives that make up your top-down adoption. So that is what the AI Adoption Accelerator is. I'll hop over to our website really quick. If you want to learn more, where you want to go is to solve.cloud. This is our website. You'll see this in our homepage. If you have questions or just want to chat, maybe there's questions that came up from this webinar or others, you can schedule a time with one of our practice directors, and their calendars are here. You can schedule a 15-minute sort of discovery call consultation. These are absolutely free. Happy to answer any questions that you need and then direct you where you want to go, whether that's a Salesforce implementation or diving more into a specific AI initiative. And of course, you can fill out a form as well if you don't want to set up a meeting just yet. And then we can contact you. From the homepage, if you click on the AI expertise button, you can see a lot more information about our approach to AI. And then there's this AI Adoption Accelerator workshop, which again, will take you to some information about it and a form that you can fill out. And we'll contact you. Again, that's completely free. We'll go through more details of what that looks like, pricing, all of that, and then move forward, get you adopting AI and benefiting from the new opportunities and new things you can do with AI, and also saving a lot of money because the things you don't have to do anymore because you're making use of AI to automate your business. So feel free to check us out there. At this point, under normal circumstances, we'd launch into a Q&A, and we'll tape those as they happen. But for now, sign off. Thank you very much, and feel free to reach out again if you have any questions. Thank you.